Hi, and welcome to the 2024 Fall Reporting Data Review. My name is Chris Williams, and I'm the Program Consultant in the Office of Assessment Accountability who's going to bring you this presentation today. Hi, our agenda for today for the Fall Data Review process is the need for the process, understanding the process, tentative timelines for reporting. We're going to talk about data review priorities, SDRR features and steps. We're going to talk about cohort, post-secondary readiness scores, and then some SDRR resources to help you with this work that you're going to be getting. Now, why do we need the need for fall data review process? Well, it is our final opportunity to review and verify our data before it's publicly reported in our school report card. Now, this time that we have is short and focused review of access and alternate access for ELLs, for our Kentucky Summative Assessment, KSA, and Alternate Kentucky Summative Assessment, AKSA, also for post-secondary readiness and scores, and then also for our cohort data for 4-year and 5-year. This is a limited effort, so school and district staff can concentrate on reopening, because we know the beginning of the school year is always a busy time for you as school and district staff for this work. So we want to make it as painful as possible and short as possible for you as well. So let's talk about understanding the process. Well, what got us here to begin our process is to get the rosters right, because you had to get your rosters right throughout the school year. Both during the January, February, March, you had SDRR was open for rosters for access and alternate access for you to do your non-participations. And then during the spring rosters, back in the spring in April and June, then you had all the rosters that were open, including your access rosters. And then you also you were able to see, then you had your cohort data that's been available to you from February through July for you to look at and make changes in Infinite Campus to get that information correct. And then during that time, by getting the rosters right, we also are moving into our next phase, which is data review and cleanup. So this is being able to where you'll be able to make your individual student level changes. This is your last time to be able to make those changes. Also to request any non-participations if you need to in SDRR, request accountability changes, and also to be able to mark your accommodations for your IEP and your PSP students. And then once this process is over with, then we get to the accurate reporting in the school report card, and then we will have another data review that follows our public release, which is a 10-day regulatory data review that we always have to do after our data is publicly reported. Tentative timelines for our for fall reporting. We do have our data review. Like I said, that is our first thing we're going to be doing for our fall reporting. It's going to happen August the 7th through the 14th, and it will. At this time, you'll be able to do, make any changes to demographics of your students, accountability, and participation status for individual students, and this will be your focus during this time. And you'll be able to, you'll have until August the 14th at noon for any new tickets. And then, of course, after that noon time, you'll have, that'll be the last time you could submit any new tickets, and then we'll have the resolving of those any outstanding tickets that you have in SDRR after that time. Then we will move into Quality Control Day, and that'll be September. It's tentative for September 19th. All of these dates are tentative. We put those in case there's something that comes up during that we have to change some dates. You're going to see spreadsheets as well during that time, as well as during data review and your work in SDRR. For quality control, you'll see spreadsheets again. You'll also be able to get to those spreadsheets through the KDE applications login. We'll also have Google Forms that we'll talk about the process for quality control as it gets closer, and have that ready for you as districts to be able to use those Google Forms as you're doing your work during Quality Control Day. This work is for big systemic issues. This is not for individual student. Quality Control Day is not for individual student changes. That is done through August the 7th through the 14th. Then once Quality Control Day with our districts is done, then it'll be released to districts and media October 1st. Remember that this data is still embargoed until it's publicly released. And then this year we have a little bit slight change where the public release will be an open house this year on October 3rd. And then once it's, your data is released in open house this year, then we'll start our 10-day regulatory data review that happens in SDRR after public release from October the 3rd through the 14th. Now, you'll be able to go back into SDRR and make changes during this time, but remember, this is your time, August the 7th through the 14th, to be doing this process now, because you don't do the next data review until it's already publicly reported in open house. Now, what are you going to do during data review? Of course, you're going to first thing priority is your demographics and accountability. You're going to go through, like I said, all the demographics as the first day of the 14-day window, and I want to make sure to reiterate that because that's going to be important. As the first day of the 14-day testing window, that's what all demographics are based off of. And you'll be able to see those. You'll also be able to get to your lunch day and students with disabilities with IEPs. You'll also be able to confirm, your ethnicity and race categories. Your tested school and grade cannot be changed during this time. You'll be able to mark your, be able to mark your accommodations with your IEP or program services plan students, your PSP students. You'll be able to go in and make any changes to accountability and then resolve any non-participations that you had that students without test results. And remember, all demographic changes made in IC at the end of 2023, 2024 school year and most in SDR can be edited during data review. You'll be able to review all the data. You want to make sure you've done this. And then the second step is to check your student participation status using the spreadsheets that we will have under the KDE web applications on the secure portal on our KDE website. You'll want to look at those spreadsheets, and check the statuses of your students using those spreadsheets to be able to help you with what other additional changes you may need to make for demographics and accountability as well. But also, it's very important that you do step number 1 and step number 2 in this process, because this will be the last time that you'll be able to make individual changes and be able to mark any accommodations and be able to change accountability if needed. And then also to apply for any non-participations at this time, and also do any roster cleanup. And we'll talk about why we need to do some roster cleanup. Now, what are the spreadsheets will be available only to our district assessment coordinators for your download once. The DAC will be the one who will distribute the appropriate spreadsheets to staff that will be assisting with data review. process. So those spreadsheets should not be going to every staff member, only the DACs who need help with doing this work in SDRR during data review. And then you will have spreadsheets as a DAC. You'll download those on the KDE Web Applications login. And that's the same one that you'll be able to get to. And I'll show you what that's going to look like in our presentation. Also, you'll see the, you'll be doing the spreadsheets you'll be looking at and downloading those and seeing what changes you need to make to your students. And then the changes are to be made in SDRR. So, because you don't make them on the spreadsheets, you have to make them as changes have to be made in SDRR. And then what can you do in TEDS for your career data? Because on those spreadsheets, you're going to have all of your assessments, even your college and career readiness, your post-secondary readiness data as well for your college and career. And then you'll be able to make changes to your academic in SDRR for post-secondary readiness. But for career data, you've got contacts that I will tell you about. And the only thing that career data that you can make a difference in TEDS is with industry certs. That's the only changes that you can make within TEDS for that. Data that's available. Of course, we go through your roster information has been loaded and matched with with all of our test vendor data. And so, for example, if a response booklet was submitted for a student to the vendor or the student tested online, the student was not on your roster, then the student will be added to the roster by KDE. We will put those students on there, and we always, our rosters must match our vendor information. And then changes made during your roster window last spring, this past spring, are reflected in data review. And remember, like I said, it's your last opportunity to review and verify student individual data before QC day. No scores are in SDRR except our post-secondary readiness for academic readiness. And that'll be a separate tab. Suggested steps. What should I be doing? Well, in SDRR, you want to look at your demographics and your 100-day changes, request non-participations, make changes to your academic data. And remember, I said academic readiness data for post-secondary readiness. That career data, you have to go through Holly Tracy and Claude Christian. If any changes for career data. Cohort, if you got to make any changes to cohort, you would do that during this time. Also, market accommodations for your IEP and EL students. Also, in the KDE applications login, you're going to download your spreadsheets from this application, and you're going to filter to identify students who need changes. And where are you going to make those changes? Not in the spreadsheet, but in SDRR. Now, TEDS. Remember, TEDS data is the only thing you can do in TEDS is industry certificates. If you got any changes to that. Any other career data, you have to contact Holly Tracy and Claude Christian, both of them, in the Office of Career and Technical Education for career and dual credit data changes. They're the only ones who will be able to make additional changes besides for your career data. Like I said, TEDS, any questions about TEDS, for industry cert, you also want to contact them as well. And you want to contact both of them, not just one of them. Here is an example of what an KSA and AKSA spreadsheet will be. It'll have your 100-day students. It'll have their SSID numbers, first name, last name, middle grade, ethnicity. It'll have if they're an English learner or not, lunch status, etc. Their demographics. Then it has, it'll go into the non-participations and things like that. If they tested, it won't have their scores, but it'll have non-participations and etc. on this particular, and also your career data and your post-secondary readiness data and cohort data will also have spreadsheets as well. And so this is just an example of what KSA and AKSA spreadsheet will look like. And you'll also have one for access as well for your English learners. So all the assessments, you'll be able to have spreadsheets in there, and it'll go through the tabs to be able to assist you. Now, how do I get access to those spreadsheets, and how do I get access to SDRR to be able to do this work? Well, here is the URL to be able to get you into it, and then you have to sign in. If you're already signed in with your Microsoft account, you'll be able to get into it. Now, how do you as a DAC be able to get access to this? Of course, and your BACs to be able to do work in this. To be able to get access to SDRR, you have to go through your WAPOP, which is your Web Applications Administrative Point of Contact. There are a fancy word for just your district technology person who has to give you rights to that. Now, the only person that will have rights to the spreadsheet will be the district assessment coordinator, but your DACs and BACs will have rights to, if they've got rights, if the WAPOC has given them rights and the DAC has approved that, then they'll get access to SDRR and be able to see their particular data at their particular school, where the DAC will have access in SDRR to all of the data. Once you log in and you have access, you'll be able to see the latest announcements. It'll tell you what things are open, what things are closed. It'll also go over the important tools to help you with accountability. It'll also remember Sandbox. It goes over Sandbox to help you if you're practicing, before it goes live in August. You have the Sandbox version of SDRR to practice with, so you can click on here. In the announcements box, you can also get to the 100-day tool and also the quiz to be able to help you, and some scenarios to be able to help you with 100-day, and then the cohort tool will be able to help you with that. And when you're going to see the three things that are going to be open for you. You're going to see the main thing in the middle, which is data review. You'll be able to see that it's open, and you'll be able to get to your student listings. And when you start making changes to tickets and things like that, you'll be able to get to your ticket listings and see those changes, who made them, when they made them, and how, etc. And then be able to download. Also be able to download all this before it ends, and then also get to transfer listing, which where you can see, where other districts are transferring accountability in, or you're transferring accountability out, etc. Then you'll be able to see your cohort data for your 4-year and 5-year graduates. You'll be able to get to all your student listings and everything with that. Any changes you make, you'll get to see those on the tickets, etc., and be able to download those before those close. It will tell you what you can make changes to when you're within, and if you try to make a change, that it will tell you where to go make it, whether it's Infinite Campus or SDRR. And then post-secondary readiness. This will be the first time you see this particular one, post-secondary readiness scores. This is the only place you'll be able to see scores for post-secondary readiness academic. Remember I said it's for academic data. Where are you going to see career data? That's going to be on your spreadsheets. And who is your contact for career data? That is Holly Tracy and Claude Christian for career data. Now, here's the home page. Once you click at the top, it takes you down to what you're going to do. That's why the SDRR task list is very important, because people ask us all the time, what do we do, Chris? Well, this is your home page. It's going to help you. All your tasks that you're going to do in SDRR during data review. Also here under quick links, it will have all of your student listings, your transfer listings, and be able to download. Underneath tickets, it'll have all of your tickets. It'll have whether it's approved, not approved, etc. Here is just the task list just to show you what this is. And this is optional for you to use, but if you use it, when you check the boxes, that tells you that you've already completed that task. And then if it's blank with the little check boxes, that means those are things you still got to complete. And make sure that you are looking over this, even if you don't want to check these off, that you look over this to kind of remind you what you're supposed to be doing in SDRR. Quick links goes over, like I said, it goes over all of your student listings. You'll be able to see those. You'll be able to see your transfer listing and be able to download all of these before it closes. You always want to make sure you download all of your student listings, your transfer listings, your ticket listings, etc. for all of these that are open during this time. Not only for data review, but also for cohort, and then also for post-secondary readiness scores. Tickets. Tickets are very important because you're going to be able to see, all your new tickets. Those are the entire, you'll see your total tickets. Those are the, in the number of tickets that have been entered into SDR by your district. New tickets have been entered and not yet approved or denied by OA. And then you see your updated more information. That is very important that you look at that because OAA may need additional information to be able to approve or deny those tickets. It's very important you look at your denied tickets during this process because we don't ever go in and deny a ticket. We always tell you why we deny it and what's your next steps. So look at those, and those denied tickets won't ever go away. And then you have closed tickets. Those tickets were closed either before they were approved or denied. And on the ticket, it will list who closed it and when at the top. And sometimes it could be closed because somebody closed it because they may have, submitted a ticket for a student and that wasn't the right student. And then we have the ones that are approved. Those are automatically or after review by OAA staff. Those will be your approved tickets. Pending means you're waiting on OAA to review to either approve them or deny those tickets. So it's very important that you keep monitoring this particular process of your tickets. Make sure that you can see those on your student listings because your student listings will have more information to be able to show you what those tickets look like. Features of SDRR, you'll be able to filter and search. You'll also see your ticket history for each student. And it goes back, your ticket history will be able to go back and you can see those for the last 3 years. You can also edit your demographic information. You also see hyperlinks to the student listing, to the tickets to your transfer listing and download. You will also be able to upload form for medical non-participations, upload those into SDR as well. Now, data review. Once you click on your student listings, you start looking at your students. You can either filter by all your students for all their tests, or you can go by each individual student listing. And you'll be able, like I said, you'll be able to go in and, update a lot of information, but you'll be able to, you have the ability to change non-participation status, be able to upload that, request non-participations here. You'll be able to look at your 100-day entity and see if that's correct for your students. Grade cannot be changed in SDR during data review. If there's an issue with any of the fields for a particular student, you'll need to send that to kdassessment@education.ky.gov. And test at school cannot be changed during data review either. Changes to demographics, any of the other demographics, it'll let you know. And then don't forget to make sure to you can filter by particular students. So if you look at your spreadsheets and you need to come over here and look at a particular student, you can filter up at the top by their SSID number, by their last name, first name. You can also filter by, your 100-day students also, and check those against the spreadsheets. You can also check those in here. You can also check, the test types, all of the tests, assessments that were given this past year, non-participation's grade level, lunch, IEP, EL, and accommodation status. You can all those. Make sure that if you apply a filter in SDRR in the student listings, that you clear that filter before you filter something else, so it goes back to the total students you started with. You can also export this out to an Excel, PDF, and CSV file, and be able to see that. But remember, you have to make changes within the application itself. Can't make changes on any spreadsheets or filtering within SDRR. Here's how, where you can click on. This is just where you can click on, and it'll tell you whether you can update that or not. It'll have for example, lunch update. It'll know Steph will check this information up against what Infinite Campus says. Be sure IC matches this request when you're making changes to lunch status. And for another example, when filing non-participant, for examples, like if you're, of course, filing non-participation for cohort and SDRR, IC must match the non-participation you're requesting. And for it to be approved in SDRR, must be in both places. And then how are we going to do non-participation? So of course, uploading a medical non-participation, of course, on the student listing, it had the drop down where the non-participation was and the dash there. On the previous screen on your student listing, you'll double click on that, choose the assessment that you're wanting to request the non-participation for, and then you'll be able to make sure that you have the medical non-participation form filled out off of our KDE website. And you make sure you have the current version of it filled out. And then once that's all filled out, then you can upload it into here as well, up into SDRR. And what you'll do is you'll see the participation status will be medical non-participation is what you'll mark. And then it'll take you to this screen where you'll be able to choose the file, and that's the non-participation form that is on your computer that you have saved. And you'll choose that file to and find it and then upload it. And then also you want to make sure that when you're filling out these non-participations, always in this additional box below is to add additional information about the student from the educator's perspective and the school's perspective of what happened to that student while they were needing this particular non-participation, and then click update. Here is the medical non-participation updated. It'll show you this, and once you go into update, it'll be if you need to update any information. For example, if you need to add additional information, you can click on that and be able to update that information without having to resubmit another whole, if the wrong form was submitted for a medical non-participation school, you can upload the correct form into SDR by scanning it to the computer and uploading again in the same test ticket without creating a new one. So that's why it's very important if you've got that. You need to do that. Now, I talked to you about roster cleanup. Remember, roster cleanup is a non-participation in SDRR that only occurs during data review. It addresses a situation where the student appears in the student listing in error. And then you have to explain why the student was not deleted during spring rosters, or why the student appears on the student listing in error in the text box. So I'm going to show you on the next one what that looks like. So you will go to the student listing if you need to clean up a kid. So if you forgot during spring rosters and didn't delete a kid off the roster and should have at that time, this is one of the ways you use roster cleanup. choose roster cleanup from the student listing under non-participations, and do the drop down, explain why the student was not cleaned up during that time, and then click update. And then, of course, we will check this information against what is Infinite Campus. Please make sure Infinite Campus matches everything. And that's the same thing when it comes to demographics. You want to make sure that everything is correct in Infinite Campus as of your for demographics as the 14-day window. Here's your ticket listing. This is what the ticket listing looks like. Here's where you can update or view your test ticket. You can also, from there, from your student listing, you see the test type. You can see what the name, who requested it, their entity, what school or district they were from, test ticket type, what they were requesting. And you can see where they submitted, the date they submitted, if they had to update any information, and then the ticket status, whether it's been approved, denied, or it's still in process. So always look at your ticket listing to see where your tickets are, what the status of your tickets are at that point. And then if you need to close those tickets, you can be able to do that, and then also be able to see ticket history from your students as well, from your ticket listing. The non-participations are by test type, and you'll notice that for KSA, you'll be able to see they are first year EL, student was expelled without services, medical, and roster cleanup. And then student was withdrawn after the testing window began. Those are all non-participations. Examples for KSA. Remember, they'll change when it comes to access, and some of the things that change with access, you'll see that we have where you have initially full English proficient. You were trying to test a kid who was already screened and exited off the screener, or you tried to test a kid again and they were already exited. And so those are a couple of new ones that are for just when you're talking about access or alternate access. So each of those, even though some of them are the same, some of them will be different. So look at those. Cohort. Let's talk about cohort and why it's very important. Cohort is very important to make sure that your 4-year and 5-year cohort graduation rate is for your students, that though it is accurate and that it follows from the first year in high school through their expected graduation school year. And then this just talks about how we get the 4-year adjusted cohort rate and how we get the 5-year adjusted cohort rate. For cohort, you also want students track back to their A1 or A5 or A6 school where the student was last primarily enrolled. For in-person and virtual students, unless the student was a verified transfer or a KECSEC student. And it's very important when it comes to accountability that you get the accountability right for cohort as well as for data review as well. And you also want to look at your alternative programs. It's very important that you look at those alternative programs, and making sure how students are tracking back. Because, if you got kids who are KSB and KSD students who are in alternate, who they will, of course, if they're in, they will track back to their sending district. Here's what your cohort student listing looks like. It looks kind of like what your data review student listing looks like, except it has some different things. It'll have some of the same demographics, but then also it'll have ways, it'll have on-time students. So you want to look at this on-time column, because that's going to be important for you to see if your students are on time or not on time. If they say yes, they're good. If they say no, there's a problem. And it could be maybe you didn't have the right withdrawal codes or in Infinite Campus, and so you need to fix that. Or now it will say no if you've got, because we get this question all the time about alternate KSA students. If you've got a student who got an alternative diploma, they will count against you regardless. So those students, just remember that particular piece. And for a cohort, for accountability, another question we get is with accountability is, well, Chris, is there 100-day for cohort? No, it's the where the student was last enrolled is who gets cohort for your students. So cohort's a little bit different. Cohort reminders, remember to review the last update of cohort and SDR from Infinite Campus. Also make changes in ISC. You can request verify transfers if necessary in SDRR. You also remember the deadline for G-code for in status and graduation tab entered in IC for your summer graduates were July 31st. Now let's go into post-secondary readiness, academic readiness, because in our office, we handle the academic readiness. So we will handle any questions around ACT. Of course, CALDI is part of academic readiness, and we have KDE approved dual credit. And remember, dual credit, anything with dual credit courses were to be updated in TEDS already, and you won't be able to make any changes to those. Any questions you have about your dual credit courses, you also want to make sure you check with the career office. And then also SAT, if you've got any students who participate in SAT, that information is submitted to KD assessment at education.ky.gov. And then we had ALEKS that you could take, also GED college readiness. Also for alternate KSA, we had the transition attainment record. We also had AP, IB, and Cambridge. Those were our academic readiness. Here is a resource in SDRR that helps you with any of our information in SDRR, and it also talks about academic readiness, etc. So you want to make sure that you go over this resource. It tells you what office is responsible for this, and then also what the benchmark and what the range had to be for you to be able to meet that for academic readiness for post-secondary readiness. Now, post-secondary readiness scores. If the student met those benchmarks previously in academic readiness, it'll show in SDR met the benchmark and the test. If the student did not meet the benchmark, it shows in SDRR where you can click on and update a score. And you can also if you're going to update a score, if you don't see that, you have to have the official copy of the score report from the vendor to be able to upload that on the scores, the post-secondary readiness scores sheet, to be able to upload that score report into SDRR to have that approved. And of course, that's underneath post-secondary readiness scores, because remember I told you that's the only place where you'll see scores. And if you need to make demographic changes to post-secondary readiness information, that is done during the data review process for post-secondary readiness scores in the section in SDRR. Now, here's what I was showing you. You can also filter just like you can on our other student listings. You can export it. Remember, if you filter, make sure to clear that. You can also see the, if it shows the score, that means if you see the test and the score, that means there is. If you don't see anything there, that means there was no score for that student for post-secondary readiness. And where can I see the post-secondary readiness scores and for academic and career? Those are on the spreadsheets. That's underneath the KDE Secure Web application. Same place when it's close to, you have the same login when you log into to SDRR. It's a separate application. Here's where you would go in if you had to update. You would choose the test, the subject, the score, benchmark met, you would say yes, and then you would choose the file that you've got the official score report from the vendor file saved on your computer, and then upload it and then update it. Here is another resource for you, the I Need Help. It's going to help you in all your work in SDRR with all of our assessments. It also has information for you about the differences between rosters and data review and what you can do and can't. It also has step-by-step instructions to be able to help you with how do I mark accommodations? How do I change the 100-day entity for accountability? How do I go request non-participations, etc. And remember, one important thing about data review is that you can't add or delete students in this. You can only do that during the roster phase. And remember, roster cleanup is one way to fix those if you had a student on there by mistake. Also, to assist you with data review, I have given you all of your WAPOC permissions. You can click on this and find your particular one to give you permissions to SDRR. I've also to the SDRR page where this data review PowerPoint and video will be on. Also, downloading the student listings from Spring Rosters and SDRR. You want to do that if you haven't done that yet. Also, download the spreadsheets. You're going to download the spreadsheets when it opens on the first day, August 7th. You'll be able to get into SDRR and be able, you as a DAC will be able to get into the web applications login to get to your underneath student data detail to get to your spreadsheets. And we'll also go through and have some resources for you and a communication as it gets closer to data review opening. Also, there are the 100-day anonymous quiz I've linked for you, the 100-day tool to be able to look at different scenarios that you have in your district to help you with accountability. Also, step-by-step instructions to help you underneath the I Need Help button that I showed you earlier. And here is an example. Here's what it looks like if you go underneath the I Need Help and go down to if I want to change the 100-day entity, it'll have the step-by-step instructions of how to do that in SDRR. You can print those or you can look at them on two screens. You can have it on one screen while you're looking at the SDRR on the other screen. However way you want to do it. Cohort resources, you have the I Need Help button that has all the withdrawal codes, the calculations, all the information you would ever want to need about cohort is underneath that. Also, the data review PowerPoint and video that I'm doing now also will have the cohort section to help you with that, and also the cohort tool that's linked on this will help you. Here's all the SDRR resources that I just went over with you. Also, we have an extra resource for you is we will have an SDRR data review office hour, just like we did at Spring Rosters to help you assist you with any tasks that you need for for data review, you'll be able to ask us any functions of SDRR. Now, we can't answer any individual questions, but if you want any, questions you have about data review, you can ask us on August the 8th from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here's how you log into Teams, or you can call in and you can ask us anything you want to know about SDRR and about accountability and its functions. We'll also focus too on accountability too, just to kind of remind you on some things about that particular piece. But remember, we can't go over any specific student information. Okay, here is the, for if you need to contact us on any questions about, your data, individual students, how about SDRR, about cohort, or, who is, contacts that you need, for other offices to help you with, if you didn't see that on the other slides, if there's other data issues and, for any questions you have, you can contact our office, which is OAA and Office of Assessment Accountability, Division of Assessment and Accountability Support. This is our phone number and our general mailbox, DAC info. You can also get to each individual one through the presentation. And if you have additional other data issues or cohort issues that you need addressed, you can send that to our other mailbox, which is kdassessment@education.ky.gov. Now, this does conclude our training for SDRR. For data review and for our reporting aspect in SDRR for this. We do appreciate all you do in the districts and wish you a wonderful experience with the data on the spreadsheets. Under the KD Secure Portal, you'll get, you as a DAC will get the spreadsheets to be able to download those and be able to work, do the work, and then you'll go and do your changes in SDRR. And then, of course, what you're going to be doing in SDRR is work with data review, cohort, and then also your post-secondary readiness scores with academic. So look forward to talking with you and communicating with you, and you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.